Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Toaru Majutsu no Index, or a certain magical index, Season 3, Episode 2. So for this, I think I might be having to move these to maybe like Saturday mornings, early Saturday afternoons instead of doing them on Friday. Because though I thought it would come out Friday my time, generally when I look Friday in the afternoon, it's not out yet. So I don't know if that was just something last week. Yesterday I was kind of busy anyway, so I didn't really get to check on time or anything. But I'll look and see what happens next week. So these reviews may, instead of being Friday afternoons right after the episode comes out, they might be like Saturday morning or something, depending on how things go. So either way, just letting you know that before I get into talking about the episode, which I really, really liked. Not only am I really happy and excited, of course, to have the show back, and I feel like that whole excitement and the phase of that probably isn't going to wear off anytime soon, but just as a show itself, it was really, really good. And another issue with it, though, is that last week I didn't really feel those 5-7 years that much. I was like, okay, it's been a while since the last season and all that. But this episode, I felt that a bit more, especially there at the beginning when there were some things where I was like, I don't really remember this. But either way, starting from the beginning, we have Style interrogating some people. Now, the chick, who she was, I'm still not entirely certain on who the chick was from the Catholic Church that he was interrogating. Also, Agnes Sanctus was there too, but the guy was the guy from the boat arc, right? The Catholic Church guy from like the Mother of the Adriatic, I think it was called, something like that. But it was like a boat, and he controlled the cross things on his necklace, and she did that too, using the ones on Agnes's necklace there for a bit. But either way, I didn't really totally remember her. And for some reason, she asked for the release of Oriana Thompson. And I hope I'm not getting the person wrong. I thought Oriana Thompson was the one that Tsuchimikado and Style, or Tsuchimikado went after and fought, but got kind of defeated. He just kind of held her back a bit. But then Style and Toma took down at the airport. I thought that was Oriana Thompson, but am I getting that wrong? Is the dark-skinned girl with the golem, was she wasn't Oriana Thompson, right? What was her name? I don't remember her name, but I'm pretty sure Oriana Thompson was the chick that Style and Toma took down at the airport. So yeah, again, those 5 to 7 years started really hitting me this episode, not knowing who that lady was or why she wanted her freed, because I thought that the chick with the dark skin and the golem, I thought she was with the English church, one of the English churches at least, and I thought that Oriana Thompson, I didn't know who she worked for. I thought she was just sort of a lone rogue mage or something like that. So yeah, it's weird. And then Style says that it's kind of late for releasing her. She's already working with the English or Anglican Puritan Church or English Puritan Church or whatever. And again, I don't remember them ever bringing up the Puritan Church before. Like we know Necessarius, or the Church of Necessary Evil, that's with the Anglican Church that Laura's the Archbishop of. And then Style and Kanzaki, everybody's part of that. The Amakusa Church is led they have the Pope guy for their church, but they also have, they view Kanzaki as their main saint or whatever, even though she doesn't want to lead them. And then we have Agnes's forces that kind of defected from the Catholics over to Necessarius. I remember all of them, and I believe the dark-skinned chick with the golem did the same, but I didn't think that she was ever from... Maybe she was lone too in my thoughts. I didn't think either of those two, her or who I'm thinking is Oriana, I didn't think either of them worked for the Catholics. So I don't know who this chick is still. So that's where the 5 to 7 years gets me. It's just that one thing. I don't remember at all who this chick was. Also, I don't remember the Puritans. I don't think we've ever seen them. We even saw Etzali, who was part of, what was he, like Return of the Winged One or something like that? The cult, the Aztec cult, that's what it was. So yeah, I remember all of that. No clue who this chick is. But either way, Toma, after doing the skydiving and stuff, lands in some water but is saved by Itsuwa from the Amakusa Church. And she explains we have a flashback to Tsuchimikado explaining what the document of Constantine actually does. So what it does is it gives the Pope pretty much power to do whatever. Like, it can't change things physically, but the way it was described is if the Pope says something, it becomes true to his believers. It can't change physical things, so like if he said there's a mountain somewhere, a mountain wouldn't automatically appear there, but for his believers that would be true. To them there would be one there. So it basically lets him do whatever the hell he wants. But an important thing about all of these magical things that the Pope can do, with all these different magical items he has, is that he can only use them from the Vatican. And that'll come into play kind of later. I kind of want to go in order so I don't get confused. But Toma finds out they're in Avignon, France, so he is, sorry, I hope I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly, but, so he's kind of confused at why they ended up there. He tries to call Tsuchimikado, but he won't answer. And then Itsuwa explains the Avignon papacy to him, which is a period of time in which the papacy was moved to France because blah blah historical backstory and all that. So basically what the Catholics did was they created magical pipelines around Europe surrounding the Vatican so that the Pope could use his magical items from places other than just the Vatican, or I guess the Catholics in general could use the magic items in places other than the Vatican. But because they're farther from the actual source, even though they had those magical pipelines, I think they said the drawback is that it takes them longer to activate. I believe that was the drawback they mentioned. So we learn about all of this stuff, and then we see the controlled Catholics that are being riled up, because that's what we had learned last episode about all of the demonstrations and protests and all that. And now we learn it's because the Pope is using the document of Constantine to basically tell them that Academy City is the bad guy, the great evil, so they're all riled up against it. So they're after Toma, and Toma decides, okay, we need to stop them because the people being controlled are the real victims here. So he decides to stop them by going to the Papal Palace without Tsuchimikado, because that's presumably where the stuff would be. So they learned then... Oh yeah, then we go all the way back to Style and his group as that chick explains the right seat of God. So the right seat of God have removed so much of their sin that they can use the angels' magic, which is something we saw. We saw the angels' language, and I guess in turn the angels' magic used by Accelerator. I'm pretty sure that's what happened when he took down Kihara. I think that was mentioned. And wasn't Power of the Angels, wasn't that also something to do with that girl that was there at the end of last season? The one that went into the alternate dimension or whatever. But either way, again, yeah, lots of things that happened 5 to 7 years ago. I think 7 years ago. It came out in 2011, right? So yeah, lots of things that are difficult to remember, even though I love this series. So what else happened next? Tsuchimikado finally makes contact to say that he's on the way, and basically says that if they can't get into the Papal Palace itself because it's so surrounded by the people, then what they'll have to do is just cut off the magical pipelines that connect it to the Vatican. So that's the general plan. But he brings up, actually, that this is something completely new, something that the Imagine Breaker doesn't work on. But he says that there might be the Imagine Breaker can take down powers and all this sort of like, it can stop magical items, I think. But he's like, there has to be some sort of limit to it. So you might not be able to just simply touch and destroy a magical pipeline. So because of that, Itsuwa says that she can do it using some of the Amakusa's magic. So once they get there, she starts doing, well, I guess whatever kind of ritual that was. I don't think they actually gave it a name. Because she says it can't just be cut, she has to make it unstable. So she starts doing that, but they're intercepted by Terra of the left, and we learn from him that the right seat, because they used the angel's magic, or this special magic, they can't use human magic anymore, which is a really cool and interesting drawback. So we learned that he knows Toma's power already, which again is something really rare, somebody understanding Imagine Breaker. So Terra's a cool character already, and his power, Precedence, is like the coolest thing. I love how creative it is, and I've said before, I love how all the powers in this series, well, I guess I haven't said it on the channel really, but one of my favorite things about the series is how all the science powers are based after these scientific principles, and these religious powers are based off these religious principles, and they're all really detailed and creative and really specific. And I like that the Precedence is like, he sets the precedence of himself high and the precedence of the wall low, so he takes precedence over the wall and can walk through it. That's such an interesting power. And the same with setting the precedence of the wall high to block an attack from Mitsuha. Or then setting it low and setting his blade high so that he can send his blade through it. And the Guillotine of Sand is a really cool weapon too. I don't know how it compares to... I liked the kind of Warhammer cross thing that I remember Vento using in Season 2, but the Sand Guillotine is really, really, really cool. So I love all that, and that's where we end there. But I love the complexity of the storyline that's going on. There is just so much going on, and it is quite confuddling, but it's great. I love the depth of it all. Itsuo was a great character here. I really liked her, because we didn't really get to see much of anything about her, actually, last season. And also, I didn't think I'd like Terra this much. I'm like, oh, his design's kind of weird, but I really, really like Terra of the Left. He's a pretty cool character so far. And the animation is a bit weird. The animation is like, there were some scenes where it was really, really good. Like, I thought the fight scenes looked really good. I thought the skydiving scene looked really good. And then some of the scenes where they're just hanging out, you can tell the quality's a lot different. But either way, yeah, that's not really saying it's bad. That's just taking note that there are different levels of animation used for different scenes, for sure. And it's a bit noticeable. But also something else, when I was thinking about the type of magic, because I was like, okay, so he has the earth stuff, plus he has the precedence power. And I was like, trying to remember, I had to look it up, because I was like, I totally remember Vento having another power like that. I knew Vento had the wind control by hitting the cross on her tongue with the cross mace warhammer thing she had. I remembered that, but I was like, other than the wind, she had some other special power. I remembered that. And hers was Divine Punishment, I think. And so I looked it up, and the way it was explained was like, she could... anyone who harbored ill will towards her would just pass out and fall unconscious. She had that divine protection. Divine protection was probably a better name than divine punishment. But either way, I think it's really cool. And there was all this stuff on the wiki when I looked up about like all the piercings and stuff being to represent like the suffering of Christ and stuff. So if that's the case, I wonder, and that had to do with the power. So if that's the case, I'm interested to see. I didn't look at anything about Terra because I don't want to be spoiled about anything. But I'm interested to see if there's something about Terra's design and stuff that has similar elements to it. So really, that's really... he's such a cool character. I'm a fan of Terra already. But either way, I'm going to give this one 8.5 sand guillotines out of 10. It was a really deep, cool, and fun episode. And yeah. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching. If you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this episode and what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more. Toaru Majutsu no Index. Much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or I can talk to you there. Oh yeah, for the for telling you to sub and stuff. Other than this anime, I'm going to be reviewing Tensei Shitara Slime Dateken weekly, as well as Zombieland Saga, and if there are any others you want me to cover, just give it a shout out and I'll think about it, because odds are if it's good, I'm probably already watching it. There are so many good anime this season, and I'm actually watching quite a bit. So yeah, in addition to that, there's all the manga and light novel stuff I do on the channel. I'd actually like to read the light novels at some point, but it's kind of a lot to get into for the channel. I would be reading for a long time. It's almost like saying, oh, I'm gonna start One Piece on the channel if I wasn't already a fan. It's kind of a lot to get through. But yeah, sorry, just a sidebar there. But you can talk to me or more of us on Discord too if you want. I have a server that's free and open for anyone, for all of us to talk. So if you want a link to that, just ask and I'll give you one. But that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.